To Mr. Rondé, here's some words of advice, my brother, and I hope you see this video somehow. You might want to win this game, because if you don't, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you had a great week. Hope all of you had a great Halloween. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And man, oh man, we gotta talk about your boy Ryan Day. I feel bad for all the youngsters in Alabama because it rained starting at like 5 p.m. yesterday all the way up until, well, really like 11 or 12. So yeah, Halloween completely got ruined around where I'm at. But for everyone else, hope you enjoyed your time, whether that was taking the kids trick-or-treating, watching a movie, just do whatever you desire. I said this in the last video, but this is my favorite time of the year when the leaves start falling. I mean, the trees, they turn into beautiful, bright orange, bright red colors. I can't get enough of it. There's just something about waking up early in the morning and feeling that cool and crisp 50, 55 degree air below right in your face. The older I get, the more I started to think that fall might be my favorite time of the season. Let me know in the comment section what your favorite time of the year is, but that is completely besides the point. We gotta talk about the little bro Ohio State and what's going on with them. This is not a preview video. I already predicted that game. If you haven't seen that video, feel free to check it out. What we're gonna talk about in this video, and I've been thinking about it ever since that preview, is what happens if Ryan Day and Ohio State loses to Penn State. Despite what some people think, I don't think there's any pressure on Penn State to win this game, not even to the slightest. I know Penn State's gotten off to a fantastic start. They're having a really good season, but let's not try to act like they're the favorites in this one. To go on top of that, Penn State's head coach, James Franklin, he's not on the hot seat. And Penn State doesn't even necessarily need to win this game if they still want to make the 12-team playoff. I say all that to say this. There's just no pressure at all on Penn State to win this game, and they're going to be playing freely. On the flip side for good old Little Bro State, completely different story. It's a 180. I wouldn't go as far as saying this is an elimination game for Ohio State, but if they lose it, they're not going to be sitting pretty, and they're not going to be in a good position to make that 12-team playoff. Because if you lose another game, you're no longer controlling your destiny, and you're putting your hopes of making the playoff into the committee's hands, and who knows what they're going to do. To go on top of that, I don't know how anyone would disagree with this. Ryan Day, he is not like on the hot seat, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say he's at like a 3 or 4. I don't care what anybody tries to tell you or what you try to tell yourself. You're just lying to yourself if you disagree with this statement. But Ryan Day's seat is warm. Why is it warm, you may ask? Oh, well, it has a little something to do with he's lost to Michigan, his biggest rival and arguably their biggest game every single year, 3 straight seasons, and I think that's a fireable offense just in its own right. But to go on top of that, he can't win a big game to save his life. And you best believe the players also can feel the pressure because they know this. They have not been living up to the expectations this season. This was supposed to be the most talented team in the country. Remember, they paid $20 million for this roster. And in the past couple of weeks, it hasn't been so good. There's no moral victories. I don't care. I think they played good against Oregon, but we're talking about Ohio State. No moral victories. You lost the game. Wasn't good enough. And then last week, yeah, that was just embarrassing, man. You won the game. I'm not going to degrade Ohio State for that. I don't think any less of them. I didn't move them down my rankings. None of that. But the fact you only can muster up 64 rushing yards, that's embarrassing to me. And it makes it look 10 times worse when another team in the Big Ten, Indiana, curb stomped that same Nebraska team by 50. And Nebraska was a couple stops away from beating you at home. In conclusion, with all that being said, that equates to a lot of pressure building up for this game and matchup. Pressure isn't always a bad thing, though, and I firmly believe this. Having pressure is a privilege because it means something's on the line. If you're feeling pressure, that also means, number 1, people are counting on you, and number 2, it means something to you. Pressure is good to have. But there's a lot of people walking on this planet that don't perform too well under pressure. That's going to be something to pay attention to in this matchup against Penn State. Is Ohio State going to play a little nervous in this game? Watch out for that. For those of you who don't know, then this is the newest new updates. It is being reported that Drew Allar, he's going to give it a go. How healthy is he? I have no idea. We haven't heard anything about him. He's been practicing the past couple of days, but he could be 95% or he could be 55%. We don't know. I guess we'll find out on Saturday, and just for the sake of this game, I hope he's close to 100%. Nobody around this time of year is actually 100%. I'd say at this time, 85% is the new 100%, if that makes sense. I'm just hoping it's not to the point where he's hurting the team. Getting all that out the way, though, let's talk about the case and scenario of if Ohio State actually loses this game to Penn State. Where do we go from here? Now, for those of you that may be new to this channel, or some of you, you're not new, but you just want to hear me say it again, I'll do it, and I'll gladly do it. I think Ryan Day should have been fired years ago. This is documented on the channel. You can go watch the videos, and I'm talking about years and years ago. I stayed after the first loss to Michigan. They should have fired him. So you best believe after the second loss, I thought that was the final straw, and he wound up losing to him a third time, and yeah, I mean, that was just beyond the final straw for me. It's like, what are we doing at this point? And it's not that I hate Ryan Day. I have no hidden agenda against him. It's not anything like that. But I know the standard at Ohio State is great/elite, and he's not either of those. He's just a good head coach. He's good enough to get you to 10 or 11 wins a season. He may sneak into a playoff occasionally, but he can't win the big ones. And that's what separates your greats from the goods. But I can't help but wonder what would be the new excuse for Ohio State fans if they somehow, let's just say, lose this game on a walk-off field goal. It's a close one, but typical Ryan Day fashion, you lose it at the end. Are they still going to defend this guy? Are they still going to have his back? I'd say it's probably going to be split down the middle. 50% of them say, oh, yeah, well, we got to keep giving them chances. We're right there. The other 50% will say, all right, yeah, I'm done with them. But what makes losing to Penn State such a very intriguing argument, and it's the reason I'm even making this video, is because we're talking about a top 3 team. If they do lose to Penn State, yeah, it's terrible. Ohio State, the $20 million team that's supposed to win a championship, they already have 2 losses before the regular season has even ended. But look at who they lost to. 2 of the top 3 teams in the nation. So that's where things get a little dicey. It's like, yeah, you lost, but it's not like you were losing to chumps and bozos. It's to the top 3 teams, like I just said. And here's my honest opinion on what's going to happen. Hypothetically speaking, for say this video, let's say Ohio State loses. Heartbreaking fashion, like we already talked about. I don't think there's a chance in the world they fire Ryan Day. It's just not going to happen. There's not a chance they're going to do it. If they didn't fire him after losing to Michigan for the 3rd straight year, they're not going to fire him after losing to a 3rd-ranked team in the nation. But here would be my argument. It's like, all right, how many more chances are we going to give this guy? And the one argument, it's such an invalid argument that I see Ohio State fans bring up in the comment section, and they're probably going to bring it up in this one. Matt, what are you talking about fire Ryan Day? He's got an insane record. He's like 70-something and 8, man. He's only got 8 losses. That's a great record and yada, yada, yada. Dude, I don't care about his record because you know he plays every year in the sorry and sucky Big Ten. Rutgers, Northwestern, Iowa. I mean, that conference ain't that good. Any decent head coach is going to beat sorry and sucky Northwestern, Maryland. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Let's not try to act like the Big Ten is some gauntlet. They got 3 to 4 good teams every single year, and that's it. Everyone else, doo-doo cheeks. You want to know what's the most important stat to me? His record against good teams. And you want to know something? It ain't good. It's actually bad, and come to think about it, when's the last time Ryan Day and Ohio State won a big-time game? Ain't beat Michigan in 3 years. I mean, you lost to freaking Missouri last year. Let's not try to act like Missouri was a powerhouse, and I know you had your backup quarterback, but who cares? Missouri ain't that good. This year, you lost to Oregon. Lost to Oregon a couple years ago. When was their last big win? Here would be my question if I'm in that room with the Ohio State athletic director if Ohio State loses. When is enough enough? At this point in time, Ryan Day rubs me as nothing more, nothing less than the Mark Richt of the Big Ten. To Mr. Ryan Day, here's some words of advice, my brother, and I hope you see this video somehow. You might want to win this game because if you don't, this fan base will finally, and I mean finally, turn on you. And they should have turned on you years ago. If they do lose, I expect his hot seat meter to go from a 3 or 4 to about roughly a 5 or 6. I'm curious. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think is going to happen to Ryan Day if he loses this game to Penn State? Let me know your thoughts down below. But